I tried meth. First time I did it, I smoked it. I tried it literally a handful of times, put it down for a few years. Then a few years later, I snorted it and it grabbed me. That's what really grabbed a hold of me and ended up like deteriorating my life to the point where I had to come to the Refuge.
I got introduced to meth, and that was a big downfall. It was just what I wanted though, because it was cheap. I lost a good job, lost vehicles, and it was, I found myself living in an apartment with no electric, no heat.
Actually, alcohol was my gateway drug, probably 12, 13, and I just kind of fell into alcohol and then everything else after that.
I was addicted to crack, which was my recent addiction to crack and alcohol.
Pills initially, and then pretty much to heroin within about a 6-month time frame. Then of course I started dabbling in different things like crystal meth. Right before I came into the ministry, it was fentanyl and crystal meth for every day for about 1.5 years.
Just cut myself off from everyone. I mean, I've always kind of been quiet and stayed to myself, but just, before I figured out that I was a common denominator, it was everybody else, and it just kind of couldn't get along with anybody.
Yeah, my family, they'd still let me come around, but they didn't really want to help me. They didn't trust me. They knew what I'd be spending my money on.
Lost plenty of jobs, stole from my family, from friends, from coworkers, and I've been to prison. I did 1 year in prison when I was 20. I've just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. I've been stabbed 4 times. It's literally just taken me to as low as you could possibly go without dying.
This is my second time completing the Refuge ministry, and I was separated from the brethren, and I didn't have a church. I wasn't established in a church yet, and I started to venture off and lost my way, lost my true identity for Christ.
That I was just ready to change, and actually I had no withdrawal symptoms. I was just really happy to be back, fortunate to be alive, and it was kind of blurry for me, but I do remember feeling welcome, wanted, and it was just a good atmosphere to be in.
It felt great when I, my mind started getting clear. Meth really messed up my mind. I said through first, second phase that I come here to get my memory back, and I wasn't kidding. I was practically an Alzheimer's patient. If I would have kept on going the way I was, by now I think something bad would have probably happened to me.
I started back to praying. I started back to relying on God, and that's what the ministry does for you. You start to develop these good habits of mentorship. You just develop structure every day and following what God has, and started reading the Bible again and trusting God. And it's the greatest thing that could ever happen to me, to be reconnected to God and wanting to serve God, and wanting to serve God with my whole heart.
The whole time that all my chips were in, but there was times where I wanted to leave, but I knew where that would, eventually get me right back.
Just a couple months of being there, I could see such a big change just from sobering up and being in an environment where everybody's pushing you to change, and seeing other people change, and it inspires me to want to change more. And just seeing the difference my family treated me and everything, I just wanted to stay. If 2 or 3 months is like this, then what's 13 months gonna be, And then after that, what's 2 years? What's from this point? What's 5 years down the road gonna be like?
It's still just it's just a warming feeling, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that other men can relate with you and where you've been in your life, and just knowing that there's a better option out there. It was really, really welcoming, and just really felt the love with that.
you'll just have friends like you never had before, real friends. You know, you can leave here and you know, have some good friends and fellowship with them, and they'll just be there for you when you know you don't have anybody else.
I can work with people that went through the Refuge, and I'm surrounded by people on the block I live on who went through the Refuge, you know.
Even at work, we see a person need help. One of our brothers, we're willing to help and stop, take a moment to pray, take a moment to help him out, and not just with the Refuge brother, with anyone. So anyone we come in contact with, we want to love on them.
They teach you a good work ethic, and you know how to hold down a job, and not just work, but you know, not complaining at work as much, or getting along with guys that you work with, and how to swing a hammer and minister to somebody at the same time. I mean, it's kind of a technique, and I probably wouldn't have learned that, you know, if I hadn't come through.
So my favorite verse is Romans 1:16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. That no matter what my story is I don't have to be ashamed of where I came from, because my story, my testimony is what gives Christ the glory, because I've been removed from my ashes and I've been taken out of my misery and brought into something glorious and righteous, and knowing that I'm going to be able to reign as a king with Christ next to God at his right hand is just a marvelous and glorious feeling.
Matthew 28:19 states that all authority has been given to me, and Jesus commands us. Now is the time. We done been in the Refuge. Now is the time for us to go out and make disciples of all nations. So what that they're saying is, community group, small group, whatever you want to call it, we have to start to give back to Refuge, give back to the church, give back to others, make disciples, let them know they are worthy of God's calling.
And just being able to think about having a future with these men who I call brothers now, that I know I'm going to raise my kids with and go to church with and small group with and Bible study with and really grow closer to Christ with. It's just, I couldn't imagine my life without them now.